Hey, Congregation Beth Am, it's Rabbi Rosenberg with another teaching from this week's Torah portion. This week we get the story of the daughters of Zelophehad. These five daughters, five sisters, go to Moses and they say, "Our father died and he had no sons, just us." Now, by the law of that day, if a man died with no sons, then there was no one to inherit because only sons were allowed to inherit land and property. So instead, all of the land would go back out into the community. It would be divided up. But maybe more importantly, that man's household would end. His name would be lost. And these daughters say that's not fair. He shouldn't be lost to history just because he had no sons. They said, "We propose that when there are no sons, the daughters be allowed to inherit." Now Moses goes to God and tells God what they said, and God says they're right, and that will be the law from now on. We got to say it's not exactly full feminism because it's still true that if there are sons, then the daughters don't inherit anything. But I mean, at least it's a step in the right direction. From now on, if there are only daughters, the daughters will be allowed to inherit. Now, a teacher by the name of Sylvina Chemin teaches, and this is in the Women's Torah Commentary, a really wonderful resource for anyone that wants to learn Torah. She teaches that although this is clearly a moment of feminism, it also should be understood as something broader than that, about agency, about our ability as human beings to realize when we're being told that we don't have power, that we don't have any kind of control, and instead of just accepting it, to step forward and step up and say, no, that's not good enough. We are going to assert that we do have control in this situation, and we're in fact going to take control. If I can quote her for a little bit, she says, "Perhaps the most important legacy of Zelophehad's daughters is their call to take hold of life with our own hands, to move us from the place that the others have given us, or that we have decided to keep because we feel immobile, and to walk even to the most holy center, to where no one seems to be able to go. After all, nothing is more sacred than life itself and the fight for what we believe is worthy." Thus, this parasha inspires us to discover that we too have the ability to know what is right for ourselves and what our rights should be. When we believe in our capacity to shape our history to the point of being able to change even a law that came from the revelation at Sinai, then we pay a tribute to Zelophehad's daughter. To discover that we too have the ability to know what is right for ourselves and what our rights ought to be, to know that we have the capacity to shape history. It's such an amazing lesson, and like so many lessons I'm coming across right now, it's one that fits perfectly into this moment because we are all being told over and over about things that we can't do. Now, that may not be direct and literal, may not be there's a person telling us, although that's happening too, but by what's going on with this virus, with the quarantine and all of this, we are being so restricted. We are being limited in how we can move around the world and how we can go to work and how we can do all the sorts of things that we want to do. And it can feel like our entire life is made up of and defined by these restrictions. And this is reminding us that that doesn't have to be so, that we always have agency, we always have power, we always have the ability to assert ourselves onto the world as much as the world can assert itself onto us. Now, I'm not implying by any stretch of the imagination that we should be ignoring the quarantine or fighting back against the rules that are being put out there to keep ourselves safe. I'm not saying we should push back on those restrictions. What I'm saying is we should push back on the idea that because we have those restrictions, we are fully restricted. We still have the ability, even during this quarantine, even during this time of frustrating limitation, we still have the ability to have an impact on the world. We still have the ability to shape the world in very significant ways. And that could be in the political realm, in the social realm, in the moral realm, in the spiritual realm. I'm not limiting it to any one domain. But maybe to put it differently, we still have the ability, despite how restricted we are, to lead profoundly impactful lives. We can make the world a better place in so many ways, and that's what's important. I would love to go out and have some fun. I'd love to go to a movie or to the mall or something, but ultimately what I really want is to know that my life is making a difference, that my life has meaning, because it is in some way making the world better than it would have been without me in it. And I am not limited in my ability to do that. None of us are restricted from doing that. So go, be frustrated by these restrictions, be annoyed at the quarantine, but don't let it be an excuse for not going out and having an impact on the world. The world can be better because you're in it, and that will happen if, and maybe only if, we decide to not be limited by the restrictions of our day. Be safe, be strong, and hopefully I'll see everybody soon.